All right, welcome back. So we've played an influence card from our influence phase. This is the fourth step of the turn. In this video, we're going to teach you how to play a site. And sites are really important to us. They serve as being the source of Sularium, the lifeblood of our faction. They serve as being defensive for us, and they serve as protection from our opponent's attacks. And in turn, we're going to be attacking our opponent's sites, and that's how we're going to deal damage. We'll talk a little bit more about damage dealing in a later tutorial when we talk about the attacks, and we do some attack examples and things of that nature. So let's start within our site phase. And the first step of this site phase is that we look at how much influence we generated. And so we generated one influence because we have a single card, either face up or face down, in our influence row. And so it makes 1 point of influence for us. Every card in our influence row will be worth 1 point of influence and 1 influence generation. Now, influence generation and influence points are two different things. Influence generation has to do with how we play tactics and condition cards, and influence points have to do with how we play sites. Sites actually spend our influence, whereas tactic and condition cards do not. Don't worry about that too much. We'll get into that a little bit later. Just know that there's two different mechanics at play based upon the influence here. So with 1 influence point, I look to my hand, and I'm looking for a site that has an influence cost of 1. I have 2 sites here. I have a shipyard and I have a watchtower. Both of them have an influence cost. The watchtower has a 1 influence cost and the shipyard has a 2 influence cost. Unfortunately, I don't have enough influence yet for my shipyard, but I do for my watchtower. So I can go ahead and play my watchtower. And when I play my watchtower, I can choose to either put it into the front or rear site row. My first site always has to come into play in either of these 2 rows. If I'm out of sites, or my opponent has eliminated sites later in the game, and I need to build another site, I can establish that site as long as it's in either one of these 2 rows again. Now, why is that important is probably the first question you're asking. It's important because when we establish sites, we're establishing our defensive capabilities. And a watchtower has 3 defense. Our shipyard at the next turn has 5 defense. So you can imagine as we continue to go up in higher influence costing sites, the defense value of sites will get larger and larger and larger. And by doing so, they serve better at protecting us. Let's go ahead and assume, let's skip forward just a little bit, and let's assume that we're now on my second turn of play. And so I put my second influence card in. I now have the ability to play the shipyard because I have 2 influence points, and I generated 2 influence. So with 2 influence points, I can put my shipyard in one of 3 locations, either to the right side of my watchtower, left side of my watchtower, or to the front of my watchtower. Now, you may ask why I want to do that. The reason why I would maybe want to put the shipyard in front of the watchtower is because by doing so, my opponent typically has to attack this shipyard first, which means he's got to muster 5 attack value into a shipyard to destroy it. Once he eliminates the shipyard from play, if I can't build another site on my next round in front of the watchtower, I now have an exposed weakness, and my watchtower at 3 defense is vulnerable to attacks. But as long as the shipyard is in play and protecting the watchtower, my opponent cannot attack the watchtower. However, they can still target the watchtower. That's important to note. Some effects can allow players to just do damage by targeting objects in play, and the card will tell you what objects it can hit, such as combatants or sites. So when we play sites, we always have to play sites sharing a side. As we go further and further up, and we make more and more influence, 1 per turn, so in this case we would be on my 4th turn of play now, I'm able to put more and more sites into play. When I start putting those sites into play, they always have to share a side. I have to choose whether to put it into the front or rear site row. And in turn, those sites are going to have abilities sometimes. So in the case of the Cloud Stronghold, for example, the Cloud Stronghold says activate, and target combatant you control gets Alpha Strike this turn. So we won't go into Alpha Strike yet. We'll have a video specifically relating to Alpha Strike, but I just want to let you know that these sites can have those abilities. And whenever a card says activate : all that means is that we're going to rotate the card 90 degrees, and by rotating the card 90 degrees, we choose a target for for this in case I'd have to choose a combatant. Let's just say I have the Grey Harrier in play right now. I can target the Grey Harrier and give it Alpha Strike. This ability can be done in any of the command windows throughout the turn. So there's 8 command windows throughout the turn. So after I play a site, there's a command window. I can actually use that site's ability immediately if I have value to it. Some sites will also have continuous abilities. And continuous abilities are something that is ongoing as long as that site remains in play. And I'm looking for one to show you folks right now, and it's going to be in my spare cards, I think. And so that could be, for example, like Bergheim the Wolf's Den. And Bergheim the Wolf's Den says all Jotun sites you control get +0/+2. That includes Bergheim itself. So this +0/+2 is a continuous ability. As long as Bergheim is on the battlefield, it is going to provide a +0/+2 to all your sites. That covers the site phase. I'm going to back things back up to the first round again for the next step of the turn, which is the Solarian phase. We'll talk about Solarium, and then we'll start talking about playing combatants. Thanks a lot. We'll see you in the next video.